Okay, well, we will jump in because we always like to finish right on time or a few minutes before. I know people are busy. Um, Welcome to being overwhelmed. Uh, Learn how to quiet the chaos. And we're going to approach this in two different ways. We're going to approach it in, I'm not overwhelmed yet. How do I make sure I don't get there? And the second part is, I'm already overwhelmed. Now what do I do? I'm ready to just throw up my hands and quit. I got too many things going on. And when we get overwhelmed, that's all about our emotions. And our emotions are out of control. Our anxiety is out of control. Our stress is out of control. And we can get to the point where we're paralyzed and really not be able to function because we don't know what to do next. And this can be in all areas of our life. It can just be in one area or two areas of our life. And it depends. And we get overwhelmed for certain reasons. I think everybody in the world gets overwhelmed at some time or another. Some, it just becomes a habit, and some just live in it all the time. And it can be a good thing. Being overwhelmed can be a good thing in some cases because it motivates us to get things done. But if it gets out of control and the stress gets out of control, that a lot of people just sit and look at their computer and I don't know what to do. I'm paralyzed. So we'll jump in here. Get my PowerPoint up here. Okay. So I know some of you, I know Heather's kind of new. So just real quick, I'm Greg Threadgold, and I am a speaker. I am an international best-selling author. And probably most importantly, in most of my time, I am a stress eliminating coach. And I help my clients deal with stress, anxiety, even depression, and help them stop fearing in their life and start living. And you can reach me at greg@gregthreadgold.com. gregthreadgold.com is my website. So first off, if we're overwhelmed, but we're not there yet, what do we do to make sure we don't get to the point of overwhelm? I understand overwhelm. Just for those of you that don't know, from the age of 7 to 50, I dealt with crippling mental illness. I had anxiety disorder. I was bipolar. I was in 4 mental hospitals, sometimes for months at a time. I tried to end my life a couple times. Luckily, I wasn't very good at it. And finally, after 43 years, almost 16,000 days in a row of being overwhelmed just by waking up in the morning, and everything I did was overwhelming, I beat my mental illness about 9 years ago. And when I say beat it, it's completely gone. And when I did that, what I found was the greatest thing in my life was my life coach. And she helped me learn how to be happy because I hadn't been happy since I was 6 years old. So I understand stress. I understand anxiety. I understand being overwhelmed. A lot better than a lot of people because I've been there, lived it, and beat it. So the big word that I hear and that I share with my clients, and that actually a good friend shared with me a couple years ago when I was trying to get way too much done, way too fast in my life, and just holding on way too tight. I'm going to let somebody in the door here. They're out there waiting. They said, you know what? They said you need to simplify your life. They said you need to simplify your life. I thought about that word, and that word comes up a lot with my clients, that we need to simplify our life. And in my coaching business, once I did that, once I simplified what I was doing every day, simplified my procedures, simplified how I conducted business, simplified getting paid by clients, simplified how to email clients, everything got better. And my business actually grew because I simplified it. And I focused on the things that really mattered. And I let people take care of, or paid people to take care of, the little things that used to stress me out, as far as the billing and emailing and scheduling and all that. I paid somebody else to do that. And in our lives, we can kind of do that too. We can, again, simplify so that we're using our life and spending our time the best way we can. So we'll jump into this. So we need to simplify so we don't get overwhelmed. And simplify means we need to get rid of as many of the things that you can do so you can spend time with the people you love doing the things you want to do. Get rid of the clutter so you are left with only that which gives you value and gives you joy. We have so many things in our life, but if we make a list of the things that are stressing us out, a lot of those we can get rid of or pawn off and have somebody else do them. Or if we're in a family, we can delegate. We can get help that we need so we can focus on the big stuff. Because a lot of times it's the little stuff that is overwhelming us. And again, by example, my business grew when I simplified it, when I wasn't trying to be everything for everybody and do everything myself. So that's a part of it. The next thing is we need to stop multitasking. Okay, multitasking was a big thing in the 80s and the 90s. It was the hottest thing. I went to many seminars and learning how to multitask, bought books on multitasking. And multitasking is you'd go to a seminar, pay hundreds of dollars, and they would teach you how to do 10 things at the same time. And multitasking isn't around anymore. And the reason is because it didn't work. Because if you're doing 10 things at once, each one of those things is only getting 10% of your attention. And if we're only focused 10% of our attention on something, we're really not going to do it very good. So what people were doing is trying to do too much all at the same time and creating even a bigger mess in their job, in their life, whatever it was, in their relationships, because they're trying to do everything at the same time. And what I found in life is it's amazing how much we can get done if we just focus on one thing at a time. You'll get it done better and faster. If we just focus on getting one thing done off our list, it's amazing how fast and how well we get it done. And then we move on to something else. It's got 100% of our attention, so we're going to do it the best. But multitasking, it made people feel like they weren't good enough. It put too much pressure on them. It overwhelmed them. It was great in philosophy, but it just didn't work. And focusing on one thing, being in the moment with that one thing, makes the difference and changes how we do things. The hardest and biggest thing I push my clients to do is we need to start saying no. We need to start saying no. We need to say no in our lives. Some people can't say no, and we say yes all the time, and it's no wonder we get overwhelmed. And what I teach my clients, just to touch on, is I never say yes to anything until I check my calendar, until I check my schedule. If somebody asks me to do something on the spur of the moment, I say, not a problem. Let me check my calendar. I'll get back to you. That, number one, saves me from saying yes and then regretting saying yes later because I don't have time to do it. Or I'm going to do it for the wrong reason. So I check my calendar, and if I can do it, the second thing I do is I check my motivation. If I'm going to say yes, why am I saying yes to this? Am I saying it because I feel guilty if I say no? Am I feeling it that they're going to get upset with me if I say no? What's my motivation? Is it a good motivation? We've probably all been at things where we show up to help somebody do something, and somebody there doesn't want to be there, and they have a bad attitude, and they bring everybody down. I hope this doesn't take too long. Oh my gosh, she's not organized. And they're negative, and they bring everybody down. Where it would have been better if they just would have stayed home. Their motivation is that they're there out of guilt. Well, I better go, or everybody's going to say I wasn't there. So I, number one, check my schedule if I can do it. And second, I check my motivation. Why am I doing this? Again, is that out of guilt? Is it out of fear? Or am I just doing it because I want to be there and help this person? And if I can't do it, then I call them back and say, you know what? I'm not going to be able to help you on that date. A magical thing's going to happen in the universe. They'll get over it. Okay? They'll get over it. They'll get someone else to help. If my motivation is not good, I try to change my motivation. If I can't, then it's probably better that I'm not there. Because if I'm there with a bad attitude, it's better to have somebody else do it. And so we have to say no sometimes. And I don't have to explain. We don't have to explain why I said no. We don't have to feel guilty saying no. If we want to add something like, next time I hope I can help you, or if there's another day that you're going to need help, maybe I can look at that and see if I can do that. You don't have to do that. It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect yourself and set a boundary that I got too much going on. I can't load another thing into my schedule. And since I've learned to say no, and it's not that often that I say no, but sometimes I just have to. I have let other people, when my book came out and suddenly I'm all over Los Angeles and I'm doing 3 news interviews and I'm doing 4 radio interviews in one day and I'm doing 2 podcasts the same day. It was too much. And I had to say no to my publisher. I understand that's their job. But I was in Los Angeles for 5 days and I drove almost 1,000 miles and I never left Los Angeles County because they had me banging all over from Northern California to Southern Los Angeles to Northern Los Angeles, all over the place. And I was so stressed out from the traffic and getting to where I had to be on TV or the radio. It was too much. And I finally said, you need to cut this back a little bit. This is me. You got me driving all over the place, stressed out, and I'm not my best when I'm on TV or the radio interviews. So we need to say no. We need to check our motivation. But just taking that time to check your schedule do I have time to do this? Or is it going to overwhelm me? Is it going to stress me out? If it is, then don't do it. It's not worth it. So this quote by James Allen, who's one of my favorite authors, As a Man Thinketh. If you have not read that book, please write that down and get a copy of that book. As a Man Thinketh. It is the most amazing book. But he said, as we think, so are we. And as we continue to think, so we remain. And in some of the other trainings, I've talked about my favorite quote that I have, which is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. To stop being overwhelmed, we need to change what we're doing that gets us overwhelmed. Or we're going to remain exactly the same as we are. When I speak to a large group of people, I tell them, I said, you're out there sitting in your seat in the audience, and you are going to sit in the position you're in until you become uncomfortable. Then you're going to move to a more comfortable position. We have to get uncomfortable in life. Or the fear is we're going to get uncomfortable and being overwhelmed is going to be the new normal. Where we're just overwhelmed and unbelievably stressed out every day, all day, and we take it home with us. The stress lingers, and it lingers through the weekend, and we don't get any rest. And we go back more stressed than we are. I do work with companies about employee stress and stress in the workplace. And I, as I find out about the companies and get permission to talk to some of the workers, I tell the owners of the company, what they're doing right now is using the company health insurance to go to the doctor, get drugs to be able to get through a day at work. That's what they're doing. They're getting drugs just to get through work because they're so stressed. And it's affecting their marriage, it's affecting everything because they're overwhelmed. So those are 2 or 3 things that if we'll do those, if we'll simplify what's going on in our lives, if we'll stop multitasking, get one thing done at a time really good, it will get done faster and we will get more done. And if we learn to say no, it really is okay to say no. And we need to do that instead of just instantly saying yes. Yes, 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 yes. And then we're overwhelmed. And what we're doing is we start to run on empty in our emotional gas tank. We start to run on empty in our emotional gas tank. And we don't fill it up. And if you run on empty, it doesn't go anywhere anymore. And if you go a long time without putting gas in that tank, then the tank starts to rust. And eventually the tank's going to crack. Same thing happens to us. If we are constantly giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and never saying no, our emotional gas tank is empty. And I know sometimes it's hard to say no because I love helping people and I love serving people and I love doing this, but we can only do that for so long. And then we're going to crack. We're going to start to rust. And the thing I find with my clients is the thing that they love doing in serving other people and always saying yes and being there for everybody they learn when that gas tank is empty and it rusts, they learn to almost hate the thing that they used to love that brought them so much joy, because they're doing it out of guilt now. They learn to hate serving other people. I had somebody that was an amazing seamstress. She would make these amazing gowns to be in pageants and stuff for people. But she never said no, and she constantly kept saying yes. And she finally got so burned out on sewing for people that she started to hate it. Every time she had to do something for somebody, she hated sewing now. And that's what used to bring her so much joy, is sewing. So we need to take care of us and keep that emotional gas tank full, so we don't get to the point we're going to talk about now, just being overwhelmed all the time and it becomes the norm. That is not a good position to be in. So when we simplify, so we don't get to overwhelm, but when we get to overwhelm, we need to stop. We need to literally out loud say the word stop. I need to stop right now. And just make yourself stop. Make your brain stop. And then what we need to do, the first thing we need to do when we are overwhelmed, we are paralyzed, we're at a point where I don't know what to do next. I got 100 things on my list and I don't know which one to do. And they're all important and I got to get them all done, is we need to stop. We need to call time out. We need to put ourselves, like if you have kids, we need to put yourself in time out. And when we put a kid in time out, we tell them, now you think about what you've done. Okay, we need to be in timeout so we can think about where we are. But even before that, we need to take a couple hours or an hour or 30 minutes or whatever you have, and we need to get out of the house. We need to get away from our desk. We need to get away from work. We need to, whatever is overwhelming us. And we need to get away and just have some me time. And I get clients that say, you don't understand, I have 5 kids. There is no me time. Well, that's the problem. Do you have a husband? Yeah. Well, then he can watch the kids. You need me time to, number one, fill your emotional gas tank, because it's empty because you're overwhelmed. And then when it's full, you can get a better perspective to what you have to do and the way you're going to do it, because that emotional gas tank is full. We have to keep it full. You can only run on empty for so long, and you're going to lose. But if we fill it up with, again, me time, that's reading for a few minutes, it's me, it's, I grew up in a house that didn't have a shower, so it's taking a hot bath. That's my me time. That's my 20 minutes that I don't get interrupted. I don't take my phone in the bathroom. It's me time. I'm just going to relax. Fill my tank. Again, lots of different ways to do that. You can journal. A lot of people do meditation, prayer, whatever it is for you. Listening to music. I love to listen to music before I go to bed. And whatever it is to fill that emotional gas tank, so the next day you can empty it all again. And it's okay to empty it every day as long as you're going to fill it up again that night. And you pick what it is to help fill it up. But that's the key. If you don't do that one, a lot of these other things don't matter. The second thing when you're overwhelmed is you need to be proactive and not reactive. Proactive and not reactive. Being proactive is the key to getting things done. If we are reactive instead, we'll always be weak and late in dealing with the things in our life. So a proactive attitude is everything when you're dealing with a stressed out situation. Sitting on the couch, stressing, worrying about what's going to happen, starting with the what ifs. What if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if this happens? Things in the future that we can't control, the what ifs, brings on anxiety. Be proactive. Take the time out first, fill your tank, and then go pick and work on something, one thing at a time, and get it done, and then work on the next. And when we do that in this 3-step process, is when you jump in and your gas tank is full, pick the hardest things first. Pick the big things you got to get done. You need to tackle the hardest things first. When we do it that way, we get rid of most of the stress because it's usually wrapped around 3 or 4 things we have to get done. And then we only have the small things when our tank's just a quarter of a way full. We can still get the small things done. Again, sitting and stressing about it is only going to make it worse because you're dealing with your emotions. That's what overwhelm is. It's your emotions looking at your problems, and they're irrational and out of control when they're looking at them. So you're not thinking straight. Like, I'll never get all this done. Well, if you sit on the couch and fret about it, no, you never will. But if you are proactive, and let's get one thing done at a time, and let's do it good, then you're set. And it really helps. So we can, and each of these things are important. This is a 3-step process. Again, the timeout, be proactive, and do the hard stuff first. If we can learn to do these things and then learn to do the things so we don't get overwhelmed, because being overwhelmed is a slippery slope. And let me tell you, I understand the slippery slope. Okay. It can quickly go from, I have some anxiety, I'm getting anxious about everything, and anxiety times 1,000 is stress, and that's just anxiety out of control. Okay. And then if it keeps going, it gets to the point of overwhelm, okay, stress times 10,000 is overwhelm, where we just can't function. Times that in my life by 100,000, and that's paranoia, where you are so literally freaked out about everything's going to go wrong and everything I try is going to fail, and you're in a state of paranoia. It's a real emotional thing. I dealt with paranoia. I couldn't make rational sense of anything. When I worked, every conversation in the company was about me. Every meeting the bosses were in was a meeting to fire me. Every joke that people laughed at was about me. I was so paranoid. Every cop car that I saw was following me. They were coming to get me. I didn't know who they were, but they were coming to get me. I literally would look out the door or out the window when I was home probably 1,000 times a night. My wife would have to put signs on the window saying, what you're thinking and what you're looking for is not real. Okay. And you can go from starting to be stressed to paranoia, and then past that as one of my therapists said, not sure I believe him, but was borderline schizophrenia. Okay? That's where I was. Schizophrenia, I don't even want to talk about that. Okay. And it's a pretty slippery slope, and it can go very fast. And that was in my work life and my home life. By the time I got home, I was so frazzled, it was hard to function. So these are important things, and these are simple steps that I share with my clients that work. They really do, they work. So the third step in this whole thing, in this whole process, that gets us to a point where we can stop fearing, because all this anxiety, stress, overwhelm, your emotions, it's all connected to your fears. It's all based on our fears. Okay? Our fears drive everything in our life. The experts say that 90% of the decisions we make in our life are based on fear. They're based on fear. We're just living on these things we've learned in our life about fear that aren't true. And our subconscious mind believes it, and we just react. We're just playing a movie in our subconscious mind every time. We're not even thinking about what we're doing. We just react. Every time this happens, I act this way because your subconscious mind tells you to. And we need to stop fearing and start living. And once we do that, then we don't get in overwhelm. Or if we do, we can stop it. And we know how to fix it, and it doesn't happen that often. Okay. So what I do on this call and is I offer a clarity assessment, because the opposite of fear in life is to have clarity. And clarity is to see yourself and trust yourself, to see other people and learn to trust other people, and to see life and learn to trust life. Because the average person does not trust themselves. They think they're not good enough. They don't trust other people. And they don't trust life. They're afraid of life. And so they get wrapped up in those fears and they can't function. And then we get overwhelmed. And then we just don't try anymore. And we just give up trying to be happy and accomplish what we really want to do. And then we sit in front of a TV set or on Facebook or on whatever. We sit in front of the TV set and we watch people doing the thing on TV that we wish we had always wanted to do. Well, there's a show about Hawaii. God, I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, but I'll just watch other people in Hawaii because I can't go. Or I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to start my own company. I've always wanted to do this. And we watch other people be successful at it and do it because we don't think we can, because we're so wrapped up in our fears. So what I do is I invite the people on the calls to take the same assessment that I took as a client 8 years ago, 9 years ago, with my coach that helped me find out how to be happy and find out how to achieve what I've achieved. I went from age 7 to 43, just getting by. Again, 16,000 days in a row of mental illness. In the last 8 years, almost 9 now, I've accomplished more in the last 9 years than I did in the first 50. Because of not getting overwhelmed, because of learning to control my fears, because of gaining clarity in my life and learning to trust myself, other people in life, and deal with my fears that were controlling my life. Now I control my life. So if you want to, and I invite everybody, if you go when we're done, I would suggest you go when we're done with this in a few minutes, and take the clarity assessment. You go to my website, gregthreadgold.com. There's no A in thread. I wish there was. It would make it a lot easier in my life. But it's gregthreadgold.com. you'll see this video at the top. Just scroll down and you'll see it look just like it is on here. Take the clarity assessment. This assessment takes 10 minutes. Do not spend more than 10 minutes taking this assessment. That's the rules. Okay. Don't overthink it. Don't rationalize it. Because it will not turn out correctly. Because what this is doing is it's picking the first thing your subconscious mind tells you to put. We want to see your answers in fear, because it looks at and it tells us where you are with fear in your life and what it's holding you back and how it's controlling you. And it's like a sign at an amusement park when you get lost and you go up to the big billboard and it says, "You are here." Okay, that's what it tells me where you are with fear. This is where you're at. Okay, so I can help you put together a plan to get rid of your fear, stop fearing, and start living, just like I have the last 9 years. So you'll click on it. It'll take you to a sheet like this. You just put in a little information. And over on the left at the bottom, it says 10 minutes to complete it. Don't overthink it. I won't name any names, but my wife, I didn't tell you her name. I just said who she was. She overthought this. She took about 40 minutes after me telling her for 40 minutes, don't overthink it, because I knew she would. And it came out all screwed up because she sat and rationalized, and it was a mess. And so it didn't do any good. So 10 minutes. It's a silly test. I call it silly, but it's one of the leading tests on fear and what makes people happy in the whole world. So if you want to do that, you're not required to do this. But one of the things I do for you taking time out of your lunch hour and stuff is once you do the assessment, you'll get a copy of it and I'll get a copy. And I will spend a 60-minute coaching call with you. Absolutely free. There's nothing for sale on this coaching call. Lynn can tell you that. She just had hers Monday, right? Nothing for sale. We didn't talk about anything. It's to put together a plan for you based on your fears and give you some tools you can use to break through and start achieving the things you want to do it. It's a life-changing, life-coaching, transformational time we spend together. It really can change your life just in an hour call. And on the call, we're going to discuss how your feelings of being overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions are paralyzing you from accomplishing your life's goals and dreams. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to put together a plan on this 60-minute call, customized just for you. And I ask people, if you're going to do it, go take the assessment when we're done. Chances are you're not going to do it. Like everything, we get busy. But it's a free call. It's what I do. It's how I help people. And I love doing these calls. I love giving people a roadmap for how to get rid of their fears because I went through it. This assessment and the help I got from it, from my coach when I took it, transformed my life so much that I ended up being so in love with the coaching plan that I became a coach and walked away from a 40-year career that I had as a fashion photographer. I just walked away, shut my business, and that was it. This is what I was going to do. And it's been amazing the last 9 years. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Like I said, we got done 15 minutes early. I love this new quote that I found. Old ways won't open new doors. Again, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If we don't change, it's going to be the same. We're going to continue to be overwhelmed. And my promise to you is you'll get on this life coaching transformational call You'll get some ideas not to get overwhelmed more than we've talked about, but specifically for you. That's why you take the assessment, so I can see exactly where you are, because you're not where everybody else is. And it, as silly as this test is, and as quick as you take it, it's unbelievably accurate. The guy that put it together was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for it. He dedicated his whole life to finding out what makes people happy. And that's what this clarity assessment's all about. And when I took it, when I went with my coach and beat my depression and mental illness, and she came into my life to help me know how to be happy. I hadn't been happy since I was 6. I didn't know what happiness was. And I was so critical and fearful of life and myself and didn't trust anybody. And I told her on the very first time we got together, I said, before we get started, can I just tell you something? I said, this name of your company, Clarity Point Coaching. I said, Clarity. That is the stupidest name for a company I've ever heard in my life. I said, I don't know how you stay in business. Clarity Point. What is clarity? That is so stupid. I said, I really think you should change the name of your company. Okay. Now, my coach is one of the top 20 life coaches in the United States. Okay. Writes an article every week that's read by over 100,000 people. Okay. Has for years. She's one of the best. And she looked at me and she said, wow, I appreciate your suggestion, Greg. She said, do you know why you don't like the word clarity, Greg? I said, why? She said, because you don't have any. You don't even know what it is. So I suggest we get to work. And she was exactly right. I didn't have any clarity. Now I do. Is my life been perfect the last 9 years? Absolutely not. Have I been able to deal with all the things that have happened? Yeah. Because I have a better outlook and a trust for what's going on in my life. But no, has life gone perfect? No. So anyway, I appreciate everybody taking time out. Again, go to gregthreadgold.com. Just click on the sign that says take the clarity assessment. 10 minutes. That's it. 15 at the most, you're going to mess it up. Just go through it. It's silly, but it's amazing. But it's for your subconscious mind. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at greg@gregthreadgold.com, and I'd love to chat. It's always free to chat. And thanks a lot. Everybody have a great day.